Welcome to the Sufficiently Covered podcast, the room where grace is extended, love covers, faith is strengthened, and hope is established. I am your host, Trinisha LaShawn. I am a faith-based author and the CEO of Sufficiently Covered. I believe that every person deserves to know that they are loved, cherished, treasured, and valuable. So whatever your walk of life currently is, know that no matter your circumstances, God loves you and His grace is sufficient for you. You, my friend, are sufficiently covered. So come on in the room. Hey, everybody. Thank you. I was so excited for that. That was a very exciting introduction. And you know what? I'm going to keep it. I am not going to re-record this because that was funny. Anyway, welcome you all. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of the Sufficiently Covered podcast. I am your host, Trinisha LaShawn. Let's dig into it today. So today we are talking about romanticism versus realism. Um, so I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to say we. I'm going to say I, because I guarantee none of you out there experience what I experience. None of you can relate to what I'm about to talk about today. So I'm just going to talk about myself, if that's all right with y'all. I mean, if you're listening up until this point, I'm pretty sure you're going to continue. So, if you don't know me, if this is your first time joining this podcast, I am an author. I have 3 published books out in the marketplace, and I'm working on publishing my 4th, which will be released in November. With that being said, because I'm an author, I'm a writer, I have a very vivid imagination, which is a gift. It's a gift because, it's something that God gave me, and I'm pretty sure it's a gift that He has given to all writers. Because, in order to be able to write something, there has to be some sort of imagination to be had. Because although some of us, the majority of us, do pull from our actual lives, depending on what we're writing on, for the most part, it's, imagination. So with me, I can tell a very good story. When I'm writing, I can write. Everything I've written has not been published and will not be, because sometimes my writing is just an outlet. If I'm going through something that's very emotional and I don't want to vent to someone, I will just pull out my tablet and just begin to write. Either I'm writing my thoughts out, or I'm writing my thoughts out in the form of a story. So needless to say, my imagination is great. Now, with that being said, my imagination can also get me in a little bit of trouble, because here's the thing. With realism and romanticism, I did not grow up with with an example of husband and wife. My parents were divorced when I was very little, so I didn't grow up with a great example of how a husband and wife, how a marriage should look. So what I got was from TV. So, watching Family Matters, watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, watching Leave It to Beaver. Yes, I love Leave It to Beaver. Watching the Andy Griffith Show. Well, he wasn't married, but you get my point. Watching shows like that. Oh, I Love Lucy. Watching shows like that where there was a husband and a wife, children, they worked together collectively to just build this great family. The Cosbys, those were my examples. So those were my romanticized examples of what a relationship, what a marriage should look like. So me as a little girl growing up, this is the image that I have of marriage. So I'm like, okay, well, I get with someone, I get married, they're supposed to treat me like I've been seeing in these TV shows. And it's not a conscious thought that we have with that. Sometimes it's just very subconscious. It's hidden deep in there, but because we've grown up with that, it's just rooted in us to naturally gravitate to the thought of having a marriage like what we've seen on TV. Or even if you've grown up, excuse me, even if you've grown up with that image, you have parents that were together your entire childhood into your adulthood. You see how they work together, you saw what they didn't do right, and so you created this image of what you wanted to see. Either way, romanticism. We romanticized what we saw, we magnified and made it bigger, and just came to the conclusion as this is what I want. Now, with me having the imagination that I have, and you know, it did not go so well with me, because the little girl in me wanted to have what I saw on TV. The little girl in me needed to grow up and just face what was reality. Reality knocked me on my tail, I will tell you that. Reality was like, girl, get out of here with that, because that's not what this is. That is not that. No, no, ma'am. We're not doing that. So yeah, I got a real good dose of reality, but at the same time, it didn't deter me from wanting to still have that. But as I've grown up, as I've gained more knowledge and understanding of how things work, I've come to learn that having a romanticized vision of what I want is good, but it also has to have its limits. And I'm using relationships as an example because, for the most part, we all can relate to relationships. I mean, if you want to take it a step further, you can romanticize about a job, you can romanticize about a position in ministry, you can romanticize about business, you can romanticize about anything if you just think about it. But I'm using relationships because pretty much everyone can relate to the imagination of having an imagination of having a great, relationship, a great marriage, yada, yada, yada. So we're going to just continue to go with that until I decide to move on from it. But looking at it like, looking back over some things, I really understood that, yeah, you had a really unhealthy, romanticized view of what a relationship is. And I had to really grow from that. um, because sometimes as women, and I'm just going to talk to the women that are listening right now, but sometimes as women, we tend to see something that's very good, like we're in a budding relationship with a man, and we see the good in him, and we begin to romanticize about what could be, what we desire, what he's doing. That's all the things that he's doing right in the beginning, all the things that are just flowing together just so naturally. We see that, and then we begin to romanticize and fantasize and create in our minds situations and scenarios that has not happened. But like I said, I'm just going to say that's me, because y'all don't do that at all. That's just me. That is just me. I'm the only one that does it. So we're going to just continue to talk about your mission. Okay. Um, but I learned that I really I don't consciously do it. It's like really a subconscious thing. And I've learned that about myself, that I used to, create these scenarios. And it's, to me, when I look back at it, and even like if I catch myself doing it now, I understand the way my mind works, and my mind is the mind of a writer. So I'm writing a story. I'm subconsciously writing my own story and how I want it to play out. And that does not happen because I am not the author of my life. God is. So when it comes to that, I gotta quit trying to take the pen away from the Lord and say, you know what, Lord, I forgot. You are the author and the finisher of our faith. You are the writer of my life. You know what is and what is not to come. So let me get out your way, and let me let you do your thing, because you know better than I do. And it really came from me just growing a bit more in God and allowing Him to just show me, like, baby, look, I know that this is what you want, but this is not what I want for you. So I'm going to need you to let that go, sweetie. And I'm like, oh, man. But God, I love him. Yeah, well, he doesn't love you like you love him. So I'm going to need you to let him go. Oh, okay. Well, God, I love this job. Yeah, well, that job is not good for your health. So I'm going to need you to let that go. You see how that goes? Like, we hang on to stuff that is not for us. And we're hanging on to it because it just looks good. Like a job is providing financial security for us. You know, a relationship is providing that sense of love, that sense of companionship. What else can we use as an example? I don't know. I'm drawing. Dang it! I'm drawing a blank. Oh well, we're gonna work with those two. So, looking at those examples, the Lord is like, okay, yeah, that is what you like. That is what you want. But what I want for you is better. So, if what I want for you is better, you need to let it go. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I I'm sorry, Lord. I know I get carried away sometimes and I see something or you show me something and I jump ahead of you and it's not my time yet, or I see something that I like that I think is good and you are like, baby, no. No, no, no. Turn the other way. And I'm like, but Lord. And he's like, um, I said no. So, we we have to understand where we are. And we have to understand, you know, everything that we think is good for us is not. And we have to just sometimes face the reality. Not sometimes, all the time, we have to face the reality of what our current situation is. And looking at relationships or looking at job situations, friendships, anything that we're having to make a decision on, we have to make sure that we're not living in the fantasy, living in romanticizing the situation, and actually looking at the realism of the situation, looking at the reality of the situation and pointing out, okay, let me bring my thoughts under subjection, like the Lord done told me plenty of times before, and actually face the reality and see this situation, this relationship, this thing before me as what it really is and not what I want it to be or what I desire it to be. Because sometimes what we want and what we desire is actually to our detriment. So we have to be mindful of the things that we desire, which also goes hand in hand with if we have a relationship with God and he's leading and guiding us, then the things that we want will be the things that he actually wants for us. So we will be in line with his spirit. Then we won't have to worry about the things that we want because we know that that's what he wants for us as long as we're in alignment. So we have to make sure that we are not living out in fantasy. Now, there are times and moments like me, I am a romantic at heart. I love everything that has to do with romance. That's my problem. I love love stories. I love everything about love. I mean, I was born in the quote unquote month of love. So I love love. I love everything that has to do with love. I love people. I love TV shows. I'm emotional. I cry when I watch stuff that I've seen already and know what's going to happen, and I still cry at it. It's psychopathic tendencies, I would say, but it's not. It's just me. It's just who I am. It's my makeup. But me being the person that loves romance and loves romantic things, I have to be cautious of where I let my mind go. Like, okay, now look, what you saw in this movie is not what you're going to see in real life unless that's how God handles it for you. Like me, I love and I believe in epic romances, like epic love stories. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what movie or what show I watched that has me stuck on these epic love stories. But you can have an epic love story or you could desire an epic love story, but it doesn't always look like what you thought it was going to look like. On TV, you can see it all playing out. Like, boy meets girl, they stand in the rain and talk, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, they get married, go off, have a family, have this great, wonderful life. Yay, hooray. But the reality of that is you can have an epic love story that doesn't look like that. Y'all could just meet in a coffee shop. You can meet somebody at your job. You can meet somebody wherever, and you just begin a friendship. Then you begin to date. Then you decide you're going to date for marriage. Then you get married. That's epic. It doesn't have to be this grandiose affair to be counted as an epic love story. Same thing with a with how you want your life to be. Some people want this great, grandiose, I like that word, lifestyle, and they are upset when they don't get it. But your definition of that lifestyle comes from, it could, I'm not going to say it does, but it could come from what you've seen over the years on TV, what you've heard on radio, things like that. Now we have social media, so the things that you've seen on social media, and let me tell you something about social media. All of these beautiful, magnificent pictures and things that people post, that's just one snippet of a life. It does not mean that that's their life all the time. So you can't be envious of something that you know nothing about. You can't be coveting something that you don't know what they had to go through to get to that point. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's journey is different. Your journey and your story is your own. So what you do to make of your life is your own. So my little nugget right here, as my apostle would say, is not this next statement, but he gives us nuggets at church. But my nugget is, focus on you. Focus on yourself and your own life. Don't look at social media and pull examples from that, because at the end of the day, you're pulling something that people post. Everyone does not post the bad. They post what looks good. I take about 4 or 5 different selfies before I post the one that I actually like. So if you can go through somebody's phone that's posting all of these beautiful pictures on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all of these social media sites, but if you can see what they don't post, then you'll see their real life. If you can see what's behind the makeup, what's behind the trips, what's behind all of these beautiful photos and all of these beautiful videos, you see the work that goes into it. Everyone doesn't post the work because it's not everybody's business. But we as a general population, as a general people, should not be pulling from social media and say, oh, I want to do that. You can be inspired, but not covet. So getting back to romanticizing. So it's a good thing when it's done in context. No, not context. It's not the word. I can't think of the word I want to say, but when it's done at small paces or small doses, that's the word, small doses, to build up to something, but not just really creating this image in your mind of what you want or what you think you want. And then when that doesn't happen the way that you dreamed about it, the way you saw it, then you're upset. You're upset at yourself. You're making you're making yourself upset for something you are fantasizing about. And it's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny at the same time, because you're doing this to yourself by creating a false image or a false reality and not taking into account what the reality of your situation is, the reality of what your life is. Like, you can have this great relationship going with someone, but you are adding on all of this extra stuff and then you're turning it into something that is not, and it is affecting your relationship negatively because you're expecting that other person to be doing what you're seeing in a dream, what you're seeing when you're daydreaming, what you're seeing when you're just fantasizing. That's You can't be doing that. you you can't be doing that because you could be ruining a wonderful relationship by expecting things. First of all, you could be expecting it too soon because it could happen, but you could be expecting it to happen before you get into that place for it to happen. Like, you've just been together maybe a couple of months, maybe a few months. You're expecting this grand lifestyle of these grand gestures of love at the beginning stages when y'all are still getting to know each other. Get it together. Okay? That's not gonna look. We are not in a movie. Okay? The things like that literally happen in movies. Now, mind you, they can happen in real life, but as far as I know, that is far and in between. But don't count it out. But I'm saying, don't also expect your fantasized, romanced lifestyle to come to fruition the second day that you have talked to this other person. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, now we're gonna get off of relationships. We're gonna get on jobs. Same thing with a job. Don't expect. Okay, so you go into a job, you're expecting you start at this position, baby, and because you know what your skill set is, because you know that you have great skill sets, you know that you're probably in a position that you are overqualified for, but you took it anyway because you know that you can climb up and get to the position that you desire. But baby, don't go in there on the first day thinking that you about to be the manager or whatever on the first day. I mean, you can have that expectation, but expect it to come, but don't have this fantasy that when you walk in, you're gonna show them that you're the baddest thing working in that office, and then they're gonna instantly upgrade you to or promote you to the position that you want to be. Please don't do that. Okay, don't go in there playing with them people time. Okay, do what you have to do to get where you need to be. God takes care of the plan. God takes care of the path. You have to just walk it with expectation, expecting God to move on your behalf. But don't go in there playing with them people and go in there with an attitude like, yeah, I'm the baddest thing walking in here. I'm overqualified for this position. I'm about to. Don't do that. Okay. And even if you don't talk that, because I don't talk that way, it was just a point being made. But even if you don't speak it that way, even if you don't say it out loud, your actions and the way you perform your job shows. Like if you're with people, they can tell that you don't want to do something because you feel like that's beneath you. People can get that off you. And if you are a person that has discernment, baby, they discerned you as soon as they walked in the door. So please don't do that. Okay? Same thing with a business. You're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Entrepreneurship is not for the weak. You have to really get into that thing, learn what you're doing, learn your craft, learn all of the tips, the tricks, the just getting down to the nitty gritty of everything and learn who you are and then mold your business, mold your brand to what you desire. That takes work. That's not an overnight thing. Entrepreneurship is not an overnight thing. So do not romanticize entrepreneurship, but look at the reality of it. Because what you see on social media from all of our fellow entrepreneurs who are successful, who are doing the thing, who are getting things done, they make it six figures. They are doing they're able to take the trips and to do what they want to do with their families or disconnect and go work somewhere else, work on an island in Aruba. That's what I'm trying to be. But things like that. Don't romanticize that because look at it like this. They worked. That didn't just happen overnight. Even in multi-level marketing businesses, those top earners didn't happen overnight. They built it. They first started. They did the legwork. They sold the products. They built their team. They helped their team build teams. They helped their teams build teams. You see, they kept going with that, and then they built their team into a national unit. And now they are earning. I don't even know how much, but the top people in multi-level marketing, they earn a lot. The same thing with entrepreneurship. You can do so much in your business, but just remember that it's not an overnight thing. It takes work, and you cannot romanticize and fantasize about the things that you see on social media or the things that you're hearing, or even if you're doing the same. Like you know how many authors there are out there? There are billions of authors in the world. I cannot look at another author, even in the same city that I'm in. I cannot look at another author and say, well, they're getting all this support and I'm not getting it. So, you know, what? Or I can't look at them and say, well, they're able to take trips. They're able to do all of these conferences. They're able to do that. Okay, well, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be able to do the same thing. No, it does not work that way. That's me using fantasy, thinking that as soon as I write a book and I publish it, boom, that's it. No, that's not it. There's more work to be done. There's more things that you have to do. There's more steps to take to get where you want. You also have to mix faith and belief. You know, faith, we've said this on several episodes, faith without works is dead. So you cannot believe that you want something, but then not put the faith behind it and then not put the work behind it. You cannot just want something. You have to work for that thing that you want. You have to pray for that thing. You have to tarry for that thing. For there will come a time where you won't have to tarry for it because you're going to have it. But until then, work for it. Until then, face the reality of your situation and know that, you know, when you look back at your life, at the things that you've done over the course of over the course of your life, you can be happy knowing that you did things according to your heart, according to your mind, according to the will of God, and you didn't just romanticize everything, but you also put that realism in there. It's not a bad thing to romanticize, but you have to make sure that you are not staying in that state of romanticism, but you are taking in the realism as well and then mixing those two, because it's a good combination of romanticism and realism if you mix them together. But you cannot have more romanticism, because at the end of the day you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm seeing what I want. This is what I want. This is what I'm getting, but I'm not actually getting that. So I'm going to stop this. No, because that will put doubt in your mind real quick. That romanticizing about things, fantasizing about things will put doubt, will put fear, will put worry in you if you are not careful, because you're going to be wanting these things and then you're going to see that they're not manifesting, and then you're going to get upset, you're going to worry, you're going to doubt, you're going to be fearful, you're going to think that these things are not going to come to pass when they actually just might. It's just not your time yet. It's not time for that yet. Let that thing grow. God plants a seed, let it grow. He waters it, let it grow. He prunes it, let it grow. Put all your trust, all your faith, all of your worry, all of your cares, give it all to God and allow God to help you through everything. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are seeing the reality of our situations and not just focusing on the romance of it all. Romance is good, but romance is not the focal point. We have to be real about what we're looking at, because you could be in a dangerous situation by just focusing on romance. So that's all I have for you. Just make sure that you are focusing on the reality of your world around you, of your life around you. Mix some realism in there, mix some romanticism in there, mix some faith in there, mix some trust in God in there, you know, and it's going to be all right. You're going to get it. You're going to have what you desire, but you have to make sure that you are putting all of your faith in God and that you are trusting God to know that He knows what's best for you. That's today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Remember, God's grace is sufficient for you. You are covered under the shadow of the Almighty. You are loved. You are treasured. You are valuable. This has been Sufficiently Covered with Tanisha LaShawn. May God continue to protect you. May God continue to keep you. And may God continue to bless you abundantly. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in to the Sufficiently Covered podcast. If you are enjoying what you are hearing, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a comment. Also, subscribe and share the show. We want to expand this community. God bless you all.
Sufficiently Covered Podcast is brought to you by the Grace Restored Transformed Planner, where daily planning meets spiritual transformation with guided weekly activities, daily and monthly planning, and a self-love reflection letter. This planner is sure to have you sufficiently covered. You can purchase your copy and shop around at sufficientlycovered.com. Remember, not only is God's grace sufficient for you, but you are covered in His blood. Happy shopping!